This is R2. Bryce is going to introduce and adopt a resolution in support of the Second Amendment to the United States Constitution. It says sponsored by me, but the reality is this has been 3 years in the making, and this was really and truly sponsored by the local chapter here of the California Rifle and Pistol Association. And Bryce, if you could give an introduction, please.
Absolutely. I'll keep it quick. Hello again, Chair Jones, members of the board, Bryce Ritchie, Administrative Analyst, County Administrative Office. Before you now is a resolution in support of the Second Amendment of the United States Constitution. To provide a little background for the public, a Second Amendment resolution was presented to the board for consideration back on February 21st of this year. During that meeting, the board approved a motion directing staff to bring back a revised resolution for further discussion and possible action. Since then, county staff have worked with representatives of the California Rifle and Pistol Association, or CRPA, to discuss proposed edits and provide opportunity for the CRPA to submit alternative language or further changes. The proposed resolution is a culmination of those efforts. Upon final review of the submitted language, staff made some changes immaterial to the resolution, including expansions of abbreviations such as changing U.S. to United States, capitalization changes, and other grammatical corrections. Additionally, there are 4 other changes that staff recommends to the proposed resolution. Those red lines can be seen in the attached resolution. Staff recommends adopting the resolution with the red line changes, but the board may alternatively adopt the resolution without the changes, request additional changes, decline to adopt the resolution, or provide further direction to staff. This concludes my presentation. County Council and I are available if you have any questions.
Bryce, on the redlining, when was that redlining done? Was that something recently? Because I'm unfamiliar with any redlining that is...
Correct. Yeah, but previously Jim Ross had been working on it, but after he left the county, it was reassigned to myself and other county council staff, and that at that point is when we did an additional review, because we had not seen it yet before.
Oh, all right, so we had a resolution that was supported by Council Ross with no redlining. That's what I expect to be on this agenda today. Nothing less, nothing more. We now have some redlining on this agreement. Is that what I understand?
I never saw the approval from Council Ross regarding like his thumbs up on the resolution as to form. You have the ability to approve the agreement without the redline changes that are recommended by staff, or make additional changes.
Okay, so I'm going to bring this back to staff. Who is familiar with this redlining? Is that Council McCumber or CEO Rickard? Are you familiar with this redlining?
Yes, I am familiar with it. As my understanding is consistent with what Mr. Ritchie describes, that there were some non-substantive edits to correct this resolution, for example, to make correct case citations, things of that nature. And in addition, I have reviewed it, and it appears from looking at the item that the form of the resolution as it appears is one that our office could approve for legal sufficiency.
So you're saying that Council Ross had a document that he approved that was not legal and consistent? Is that what you're saying?
I appreciate the question, Jared Jones, and with all, that is not what
I can put you two in a cage match if you like.
Yeah,
Which would be quite nice. I would like that.
I just need to make a motion, has to be seconded, has to be a majority vote first before we get there. No, that is not what I'm saying. I would tell you that I cannot speak to precisely what communication you had or did not have with Mr. Ross. Unfortunately, I'm not informed at this moment in time precisely what that occurred. But I was presented with a draft resolution, which you see before you now, which I was able to review and provide the approval you see now from County Council.
Did you contact? Did you contact CRPA's attorney with these changes? Did you discuss any of these changes with me or with any other representative from the local chapter of the CRPA?
I did not discuss any of these. For example, I did not know who drafted it or who I would contact for that purpose.
Okay.
I was not provided that information.
All right. Thank you. Supervisor Garman.
Thank you, Chair Jones. Council McComber, I do have for instance, page 45, you redlined of the people. Did you do that, or did Council Ross do that?
I don't recall, but can you, sorry, Supervisor Garman, could you pinpoint what you're looking at?
Page 45 of the actual resolution, if you look at the...
I have a three,
The
I
second
think you're referring
whereas.
probably to the board packet, right? So
The second whereas. Whereas the Shasta County Board of Supervisors intends that this resolution will support and defend the rights, and it originally says of the people, as outlined in the Second Amendment.
There's only a few things in this whole thing that have been redlined for what, but I want to know who actually, was it you or was it Councilor Ross?
I believe it was me, but that may sound like a silly answer because I don't recall.
Supervisor Drummond, there was
recitals, the recital, what I'm at a detriment here is I don't know what you're referring to when you say Council Ross did. But just reading the language there, I can see that the reference to people appears to be twice. I see that now. And I would suggest that if the of the people term is something that the board prefers to put back in there, then it's certainly welcome to.
Because there's not much that's been changed with this. Let me back up. This has been changed drastically from the one that came before us before. And just without these little red lines that are here.
And I apologize, Super Garment. I didn't hear the first part of your sentence.
That's okay. When this originally came to us a few months back, there was a lot of red lines. And I said I would approve it if those red lines were acceptable, left in here. This one, even with the things that are red line, is a much tamer version that I'm more inclined to support. But I was just a little bit curious as to just a few things here and how they ended up redlined.
I wish I knew the history precisely there off the top of my head. I don't. I can only tell you that this is the version that we read. And I see the word people twice in that paragraph. I recall now that we decided, I thought that we didn't need the word people twice. That's why I just suggested as a purely for the reader and efficiency's sake to take that out. I hope I've answered your questions. Okay.
And we do have a fair amount of public speakers. Hopefully we can get through. We probably won't before we have to take our break. Do we have a representative here first from CRPA that would like to start this off before we get into our public speakers? Gary, come on up. Thank you, Gary. And then our next speaker will be Robert, followed by Larry Johnson.
My name is Gary Oxley. I'm the current chairman for the Shasta County Gun Owners, which is a local chapter of the California Rifle and Pistol Association, otherwise known as the CRPA. The CRPA was established in 1875 and our local chapter was established in 2019. We share a common goal, and it is to preserve, protect, and defend the U.S. Constitution with an emphasis on the Second Amendment. What is the purpose of the Second Amendment? According to Supreme Court Justice Joseph Story in 1883, he stated, "The right of the citizens to keep and bear arms has justly been considered the safeguard of the liberties of a republic, since it offers a strong moral check against the usurpation and arbitrary powers of rulers, and will generally, even if these are successful in the first instance, enable the people to resist and triumph over them." The Second Amendment is not popular with some groups in Shasta County, our nation, or even the United Nations, and specifically our continent, the Organization of American States. In the next few minutes, I will dispel 4 lies being used to discredit the Second Amendment, and specifically the Second Amendment resolution presented to you for your support and adoption this morning. And I want to just break from my comments and state that we have spent several years trying to draft a resolution that's inclusive for everybody here in Shasta County, whether you own a gun or not. We have spent time with legal counsel, especially after the second time that we met here just recently. We went back and drastically changed what we were writing so that it would be more inclusive. It was approved by county council as it was written, so I'm a little dismayed that we're having changes today, even though they are minor. Lie number 1, Mr. Patrick Jones initiated this Second Amendment resolution. Ladies and gentlemen, this is not true. Mr. Richard Gallardo, one of our members, penned our original resolution. We, the Shasta County Gun Owners, with the assistance of California State Senator candidate Mark Baird, revised and approved the Second Amendment resolution presented to you this morning. Mr. Jones had nothing to do with this resolution at all. He was not even in office the first time we presented it to the board. The second lie, Mr. Jones only supports the Second Amendment resolution because of his gun business and will profit from its adoption by the Board of Supervisors. This again is a lie. If it is true, then there are at least 44 other businesses in Shasta County that will profit from the adoption of this resolution. And those include 10 different stores that sell guns and ammunition, 6 that sells gun safes, 28 businesses that prepare Shasta County citizens to conceal and carry a weapon. The third lie is adoption of this resolution and Second Amendment promotes gun violence. This is not true. We don't have a gun violence issue in America. We have a moral issue in America. Too many Americans have died because of the lack of Christian morals and values not being taught in America by numerous types of weapons, not just guns. My younger brother being one of them. Lie number 4. This lie is extremely deceptive as it attempts to discredit the Second Amendment by attacking the reputations and integrity of our founding fathers, who created the longest operating constitution in the history of the world. And it allows us here today to speak in the manner in which we're doing to you board members. It is this lie, the lie that our founding fathers were not Christian. It is a flat-out lie. They used President Thomas Jefferson as their poster child for saying he wasn't a Christian. In my hands, I hold a book that was created by Thomas Jefferson and was used to teach the Indians and distributed throughout Congress in 1904. In it, he states that he is a Christian. The name of the book, entitled The Life and Morals of Jesus of Nazareth, extracted textually from the Gospels in Greek, Latin, French, and English. My condolences to all of those who have lost family members due to the evil nature of men and women. Stop making more gun laws and start teaching the life and morals of Jesus Christ. Let me conclude by stating Mr. Jones had nothing to do with the initiation or creation of this Second Amendment resolution. Mr. Jones nor the other 44 businesses associated with guns and ammunition sales will profit from the adoption of this Second Amendment resolution. Gun violence is a myth. We have a lack of morals issue in America. If we want to make the world, and especially the United States of America, a better place to live, then let me recommend that we do as stated in California, once taught in our schools. I hold in my hand a state of California textbook that states, "The fate of our nation in a very real sense lies in the hands of their sons and daughters who study its history in public schools." If Governor Newsom is going to threaten and sue Temecula County School Board for not wanting to teach about San Francisco Supervisor Harvey Milk, then maybe we should sue the state of California for not teaching her citizens about the true nature of our Christian foundation and how morals and values of Christ created the greatest nation in the world and that has defeated tyranny and evil around the globe. I hope that all 5 of you vote to adopt the Second Amendment resolution to help preserve, protect, and defend this Constitution. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Gary. Robert? All right, Rich, it's all yours.
Rich Gallardo, the aforementioned Rich Gallardo, where the 2A resolution was born. I want to thank all the people in the last 2.5 years that have been involved. There's been a lot of people involved, local people, local elected officials, CRPA in Fullerton. This has been a 2.5-year road, which in the big scheme of things is actually a pretty short amount of time. But I think we're ready today. This is strictly a political statement. This is not a binding resolution. I do want to give the opposition some kudos today. I haven't heard some really crazy things that we heard the last time we were up here, like felons will get guns. So I want to give them some credit for not spewing those lies that they did last time. So good for them. But this is setting a marker. This is setting a marker where Shasta County politically wants to go with the Second Amendment. California is at a records pace taking away our rights with regards to firearms purchasing, possession, etc. Senate Bill 2 still being amended. The last amendment was 3 weeks ago. They literally amended that Senate bill to read, no more firearms in local government or state buildings, for the most part. Yeah, there you go. There's your 2A supporter right there, and I jest. So, Second Amendment is being attacked. This is a huge bite out of the Second Amendment rights by the state of California. This is massive. And I'm going to repeat it again, this is not a small matter. I hope it gets amended again prior to SB2 passing, where our rights are restored as they currently are. We currently can possess in most local and state government buildings. But if SB2 passes as amended, that's going away. That is why each county, go to sanctuarycounties.com, there's 3,300 counties in this country of ours. Well over 1,600, 1,700 jurisdictions in this country have passed a 2A resolution. It's a political statement, it's setting a benchmark. We hope this resolution will let this board take a stand on our current firearms rights, and hopefully soon we start to reclaim some of the firearms keep and bear rights that we have been losing at a record's pace. So I hope today it passes. Today's resolution is not controversial, not at all. But we have to set a marker. Thank you.
All right, so now we'll bring it back for board's consideration, and I guess, you know what, Supervisor Craig, can I start off on this one? So this resolution did start almost 3 years ago. I was not in office at the time, and it was started by the local chapter of the California Rifle and Pistol Association. And so I would first like to thank them for introducing this and the good work that they're doing throughout the state. The California Rifle and Pistol Association leads in this area to defend our rights, and they have many court cases that they are fighting, and quite a few victories here in California. Without them, we would be in very poor condition. They are growing. They're having chapters now left and right, and there are local chapters now here working very hard to protect the Second Amendment. Obviously, for me, in my entire life, I've worked in a gun shop. I have seen firsthand over the last 50 years the erosion of rights in California, and we have to defend all constitutional rights. But the Second Amendment's been held to a second-class right. It hasn't been held to the same standard, and it's why this resolution, to me, is so important. It's why I really thank the CRPA for enduring over these last 3 years. And the resolution that we have before us today, I'm hopeful that we can pass it. And there is some redlining. I was upset with that earlier because I was not informed of the 4 minor changes before today's date, and so that was upsetting. They are minor, and so I still think the resolution is a good resolution. And with that, I'm going to make a motion that we accept and support this resolution.
I'll second it.
And with that, we have a motion, and it's been seconded. So under discussion, Supervisor Craig.
Just a couple quick comments about this from the last time in February. I do like this form a lot better, because I do realize as elected officials we do have a legislative process. At the same time, I can be the first to admit that this has been a learning process, and what I've seen, and I have seen firsthand, how the state of California actually does legislatively try and just put their thumb on you and smash you down. So had I been through the process of what we've seen with AB 969 happen prior to the resolution, it might have been a different vote for me the first time. Also, I want to, every time the word redundant comes up, that is one group's, very small groups, word twisting of when we're talking about public comment, or not so much public comment, but a decorum, or what was the resolution? What was that called? It was the code of conduct. And what I thought was redundant was saying, hey, we should put a motion forward to say we got to treat people well. I think that's a little different than saying we need to send a message to our governor telling them we are a Shasta County, and we are different because we actually in our hearts have it embedded of the importance of the Second Amendment. It's not lip service. So many people come up here and talk about, well, I have a CCW and I own a gun. Well, no one calls it a gun, they call it a weapon. And most CCW owners really don't go up there and just tell people on average, like, I'm carrying a gun. So when people come up here and say that they're pro-gun and they carry one all the time, I know that not to be true because you're taught in CCW classes, you don't announce, hey, I'm carrying a weapon. The other is, and then the last straw for me, when somebody comes up there and says very flippantly, like, what, you want a constitutional sheriff? Like, that's a bad thing? I don't know how we got here, but I will be supporting this, and I didn't want to jump Chair Jones in making the motion to support it, but I absolutely will support this resolution.
Thank you, Supervisor Fry. Supervisor Carmen.
Thank you, Chair Jones. I also will be supporting this. I mentioned before in February that I couldn't support it as it was written in. I am a huge 2A supporter, but that was so much liability for our county to take on that I was not going to support it. So I'm following through with my word that if it was cleaned up, I would support it. And it's been cleaned up, and thank you to those who have cleaned it up and made it something where I don't have to fear that our county will be sued at this point. That is what had to happen. This is a good thing. This is how government can work in a good way. So with that said, I will be supporting it.
Any other comments before we go to the vote? No. And Stephanie, could we do a roll call vote starting with Supervisor Cry? And I'm going to dedicate this vote to Leonard Modi, my friend.
Supervisor Cry,
Yes.
Supervisor Kellstrom,
Yes.
Supervisor Jones,
Yes.
and Supervisor Garmin.
Yes.
Passes 4-0.